I'm the Mayor of Rugby, Councillor Nuria Sayani, and I'll be chairing this meeting. This meeting is being web streamed to the public through the Council's YouTube channel. During the meeting, councillors, if you wish to speak, please use the push to talk button on the microphone in front of you. I would like to welcome members of the public in the gallery this evening to observe the meeting. I would, however, ask that you do not attempt to participate in the proceedings of the meeting. Before we begin the formal agenda, I will ask the Chief Executive to provide details of the evacuation procedure for those present. Chief Executive.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There is no fire drill scheduled in the building this evening. If the fire alarm does sound, then please make your way out of the building, down the main staircase, out of the main doors of the Town Hall, and congregate at the entrance to Caldecott Park. An officer of the Council will give instruction when it is safe to return to the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Apologies for absence. Are there any apologies, Chief Executive?
Madam Mayor, I have apologies from Councillors Harrington, Poole, Simpson, Vince, Downs and Davis.
Thank you. To approve the minutes of the meeting of Council held on 17th June...
Sorry, Madam Mayor, can I just add an extra? We've got JP, Councillor... Yeah, was he already down? Sorry.
Apparently the Chief Executive has already read that out. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thanks for informing us. We'll now take this to vote. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Declarations of interest. Can I remind members that when they declare interests, they must also declare the general nature of that interest. Are there any declarations?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure if this is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, to be honest, but item 8A is my wife works for a charity that has commissioned ARS, accommodation-related support services through Warwickshire County Council, which includes supporting rugby for homelessness. So I will just stay out of the debate on that item. Thank you.
That's fine, no problem. Non-registrable interests as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct. Members were recently informed of the sad news that Honorary Freeman of the Borough and past Mayor Phil Brough has passed away. Phil was a Borough Councillor from 1973 to 1983. Representing Newbold Ward. He was Mayor for the 1978-79 municipal year and was conferred the honour of Freeman of the Borough in 1992. Would any councillors like to say a few words for Phil? Councillor O'Rourke.
It is really sad. I've known Phil and his family for over 40 years. In fact, he was very instrumental in getting me involved in politics when I first set out. And the first time I was a borough councillor, he gave me so much support. I was standing in Newbold and there was all sorts of things, political things going on. But he had such a wise head on him and he really knew his way around. And he gave me the support that I needed and really was very encouraging. What I will say is that he was absolutely brilliant in a debate in the chamber. He was very good. There was few that could beat him from what I've seen. But the thing that was most impressive really is the fact that he could do that, but he'd walk out the chamber and that would be it done. And everybody would be friends and everything would be okay. It stayed in the chamber, it didn't go out. He set those high standards. He's been involved in so many things over the years. He was chair of the police authority. Obviously, he was the most senior honorary freeman as well. He's a past mayor. He's given so much to this town. He was born and bred in this town. He went to Lawrence Sheriff School and he was a larger-than-life character. I think you'd all agree with that. And he could always see the funny side of things. In fact, he did quite like to torment people now and then. But it is a great loss for all of us. He certainly was a political giant locally, and I know his family are absolutely devastated by his loss. So I thank you, Mayor, for actually sort of bringing this up tonight in the announcements. And yeah, my deepest condolence, along with everybody else's, go to the family. It's such a great loss to them and to this town. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I start by, I think, placing condolences to Margaret and to the family, because I know they're completely devastated by this, because it happened very quickly when he went to Coventry and the particular outcomes came there. I knew Phil over the years from the opposite side and felt his lashings from time to time as he lambasted us. But Councillor O'Rourke's correct that immediately as you walked through those doors or out of the debating chamber, that was it. It was forgotten, really. You would then talk about the issues that needed to be done within the town or elsewhere and work together on those. And what was done within the chamber or a debating sense was handled that way. Phil's passion was governance and governance matters around those. And I know that he gave a lot of advice to other local authorities and police authorities as well at the same time around that. And then also living in Newbold as he did, the work that he did as a ward councillor as well. So he will be missed. He was a larger-than-life character. I think the last time I saw him probably about a month ago when I was walking across the Asda car park and a voice was coming up behind me, sort of shouting at me in some abusive terms or something. And then I turned around and there was Phil sort of smiling and laughing, really. So that's my memory that I have of him, because he was always that way. And I also remember his time when he stood as a parliamentary candidate as well against Jim Pawsey, I think it was at the time, and he was up at the church at the hustings there, and that was quite a sparky affair, if I remember rightly, where Jim and Phil actually had a good go at each other's. But again, afterwards, you could see it that both those two, Jim and Phil, shook hands at the end, and when they walked out, they were talking about families, about holidays, other things. And that's how it should be. And I think sometimes, in all the heat of the politics that we have now, we forget about the life that we all lead and how we have other things that we should do. So yes, let's debate and let's challenge. But also, we do need to remember that we're all human beings at the end of the day. And we have families and we have support mechanisms as well. So yeah, we'll miss him, and condolences to Margaret and the family.
Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to pass on my condolences as well to Phil's family and his close friends. I didn't know Phil for as long as yourselves. I knew him more recently, but every time I met Phil, I always found him quite an upstanding gentleman. And it's funny you mentioned about him being the most senior freeman, because I remember a particular occasion when we had the Freedom of the Borough ceremony for our local Olympians, and Phil came up to me and he literally said, "I'd like to say a few words as the senior freeman of the borough," which was actually really nice, because he was able to give just a little bit of insight from his opinion. And I think he did mention something about not getting free parking or something like that. He had a bit of wit there as well. But as I say, we just want to pass on our condolences as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ward. I must say that he touched all of us, I'm sure, in some way or another. He was larger than life, for sure. So he will be missed. One more from Councillor Tony Freeman, please.
Yes. Well, Phil Blundell was a neighbour of mine and a friend, and he was active in Newbold until very recently. So his death came as quite a shock to all of us, and we feel that Newbold is a lesser place for his passing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very touching words and in memory of Phil Blundell. Please could I now ask everyone who is able to stand and join me in a moment's silence in memory of Phil. Thank you. You may now be seated. I would also like to mark the recent passing of former MP Anne Widdecombe. Anne devoted many years of her life to public service at a time when many elected representatives, public servants and others serving their communities face increasing levels of intimidation, abuse and threats. Her passing is a reminder of the vital role played by those who step forward to serve others and of the importance of ensuring their safety, well-being and ability to carry out their duties without fear. I now invite members, officers and members of the public to join me in observing a moment's silence in Anne Widdecombe's memory. Moving on to other announcements. My theme this year is Pluralism, the Three Cs: community, compassion, cohesion. It is important, therefore, that we reflect on ethical and humanitarian principles in order to achieve exemplary governance and effective democracy. Exemplary governance is built upon the highest standards of equality, fairness, accountability, democratic participation, local democracy, civil liberties, and the protection of human dignity for everyone. From time to time, a reminder of these universal humanitarian principles enable us to navigate better and make informed ethical decisions. In this context, I would like to mention medical neutrality, which stands as a universal humanitarian principle recognized within international humanitarian law, including the Geneva Conventions, and reminds us of the importance of protecting the lives of medical professionals working here and abroad, respecting their role in saving lives and our responsibilities pertaining to humanity and acting with impartiality. In addition, a healthy democracy relies upon responsible, independent and ethical journalism that enables informed public dialogue, transparency and accountability. Respect for these principles helps ensure the public trust is strengthened while allowing diverse voices and perspectives to be heard without influencing debate or favouring any particular viewpoint. By embedding these values into civic leadership, we strengthen trust, uphold our responsibilities, and set a precedent for exemplary local governance, advancing a culture of pluralism, community, compassion, and cohesion in rugby, and reflecting on the importance of law, ethics, and high standards worldwide, reaffirming our commitment to exemplary governance. Moving on to another matter. I'm pleased to announce that 5 of Rugby's parks have retained Green Flag Awards, the international benchmark for quality parks and open spaces. Caldecott Park, Newbold Centenary Park, Millennium Green, and New Bilton's Jubilee Recreation Ground all received Green Flag Awards, while the Pocket Park at Gladstone Green, a community garden, retained its Green Flag Community Award. The awards aim to raise standards in parks and green spaces around the world, promoting well-managed and well-maintained parks with excellent facilities. I would like to congratulate all officers, volunteers, and community groups who contribute to maintaining our parks to such a high standard. Moving on now. Questions pursuant to Standing Order 10. Are there any questions, Chief Executive?
Madam Mayor, there are 2 questions this evening. These questions have been circulated to all members and published on the Council's website. The first question is from Councillor Garcia, who submitted a question for the Partnerships, Health and Wellbeing Portfolio holder, Councillor O'Rourke, regarding extending the Christmas lighting scheme to include Little Church Street.
Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Garcia?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Please continue.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Rourke, for your reply. I just thought that, well, you had the bit between your teeth. I wondered whether you'd look at lighting down Church Street for the entire year, because it is a little bit dull, and I have it on very good authority that solar lighting now can be done quite economically, and perhaps we could have some lovely lights around the trees as a permanent fixture just to jazz up that part of town, which has, I'm afraid, been overlooked, but is a very vibrant part of our nighttime economy. Thank you.
Just to reply and to assure you, you know me well, Councillor Garcia, and I like to get on with my actions. I've already requested that the item, and there's all the stuff you've really spoken about, actually, which I'm absolutely with. You know, if it can be done, we should be doing it. It'll be going on the next town centre regeneration agenda, and that's, as you know, cross-party now. So, yeah. So we've got an action out of it, not just, yes, I note. We've done something with it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the second question is also from Councillor Garcia, who submitted a question for the Growth and Investment Portfolio holder, Councillor Mackenzie, concerning Section 106 and Community Infrastructure Levy contributions arising from the Anstey development site.
Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Garcia?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Please continue.
Thank you. It's been disappointing to learn, as the ward councillor for Anstey, that there hasn't been any money allocated to Anstey and the surrounding parishes, as they will all be very heavily impacted by the traffic. Anstey as a village is already suffering with one-way traffic as a result of a crumbling canal bridge. So I wondered if you would guarantee that maybe some of the SIL money will be allocated to those surrounding parishes. Thank you.
I'm just looking at my chief officer to make sure I've got my facts right. But Councillor Garcia, the parish does receive a proportion of the SIL money, and if they have a neighbourhood plan, yes, that's the correct term, they get a higher proportion of the SIL money. So Anstey will receive money, but it won't receive it until SIL payments are made, and at that point it will be redistributed according to the share written out in legislation, and you will receive your share based on whether or not you have a neighbourhood plan. for an up-to-date neighbourhood plan, if I'm going to be more specific. So the money will be coming, but it hasn't arrived yet.
Thank you. Thank you for that. 2026. In submitting the report of Cabinet, if members wish to raise questions or to comment, will they please indicate they wish to do so when I call the item? With regard to items 2, 4 and 5 of the report of Cabinet, these will be deferred to a future meeting of Council. Councillor Mackenzie, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 1 of the report titled Rugby Town Centre Public Realm Priority Project?
I so move, Mayor.
Can you please introduce the report? Oh, do we have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll second.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Mackenzie, can you introduce the report, please?
I'm delighted to bring forward to Chamber the Public Realm Priority Project. It is part of the budgeted work from the Town Centre working group, and it's been a long process to get to this stage, as we've been signing it off all the way through, and it's been through to public consultation as well. So what we're asking for the money for tonight, and I say again, it's a budgeted part of the funds that we have for the Town Centre, is the REBA Stage 4 design work for a number of projects. Those projects will then, with REBA Stage 4, we will be able to bid for regeneration funds. And as we're all painfully aware, Rugby Town Centre has not had any regeneration funds, and it is our time. We are due, we should be due some money at this point. So I'm pleased that we're making progress towards that. I look forward to us voting this through and for seeing the output from REBA 4 and seeing government money start to flow in to change things in the town centre. Thank you.
Do we have any speakers? Don't have any speakers.
No, I don't. Oh.
Just 1 second. Okay. We have Councillor Robinson. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It would feel remiss of me not to say something, given it was my portfolio, and and it's something that within our group we're very passionate about the town centre and seeing this come forward. So thank you to all the officers that have kind of got us to this stage. It's exciting that we can get to REBA Stage 4 on something, and to have those start to have a suite of documents and propositions on our shelf to then be able to get investment in. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Any further speakers? No? Okay, fine. So can we have Councillor Mackenzie? Right to reply, Councillor.
I don't have anything further to say, thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we're moving on now. Councillor O'Rourke, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 3 of the report titled Rugby Art Gallery and Museum Development? Yes, you will.
I will, Madam Mayor.
Perfect, great. Okay, so do I have a seconder?
Second it, Mayor, please.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor O'Rourke?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really pleased to be able to be here tonight to move this report forward. Those of you that know me well know I'm very passionate about our arts, our culture, our history, everything about rugby. And I know most of us go into that Art Gallery Museum. It is right at the centre of our town and our community. It's something, it's not just about going to see pictures, that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of the stuff that goes on, and one of the things we'll be talking about later on this evening, is about veterans. And actually, we've had displays there with the veterans. They have access to the community space there. It's all about community. The money that we're putting forward will hopefully attract the money that we want to do what we want, which is a really ambitious programme. And I wanted really to sort of highlight why it's so important that, we push forward with this. Now, there's a lot of work that's gone on already behind the scenes for some time. So it's taken a lot of work, a lot of preparation. Lots of local councillors have already been involved. There's been engagement with stakeholders as well as the councillors about, you know, what we're looking to do. It is a very ambitious programme. We're looking at extending the whole area, make it far more accessible, allowing us to sort of show our beautiful rugby collection, you know, all of the time instead of just now and then. And also in our museum area that's really was defunct during earlier years, bring that back into full use. We've got one of the most amazing collections of Roman artefacts in Rugby that we now hold and are responsible for. This is a great source of pride, but also really important to our education of youngsters locally. It's so important to remember our history and where we come from, and that's something else that they do. But essentially, the really important thing is, and when we talk about numbers, is this investment will attract so many other opportunities, not only like large sums of money from lottery or whatever to do what we want to do. This will be at the centre of our town centre and the rebuilding of our town centre. Any successful town centre that you look at, and it is hard going these days, always has this at the centre of their success. It's about the arts, the culture. It's about having central things in the town centre that will increase the footfall. Rackham has already got a proven track record. So just in the couple of years that I've been here, because I can talk about that, we've gone from visitors increasing from 56,000 up to just under 90,000. I mean, I think that's a pretty impressive figure. In fact, it's an increase of 56%. In terms of economic value and growth, we've gone from about 1.28 million to 1.79 million, and that's a 40% increase. If we look at social value, we're looking at doubling what we've already done. So this is important for us. This is really, really important. All the evidence shows that the people that come into the town to visit places like this, and rugby is on the national sort of, you know, on the national sort of places to go now to see the art that we've got. All the evidence shows that it will increase our footfall, and we've got that information. We know it's going to increase our footfall, but it's not just going to increase the footfall. The evidence also shows in other areas where they have thriving centres that it will keep the people in the town as well. So I feel really excited. I know all these sort of like the 200 or 300 artists and makers locally, and the historians and everybody, the people that use the library, everybody's really, really excited about this. It's not a given. So obviously until we can actually attract those funds, our money stays where it is. So we've got to be successful. But if we're successful in this, this will go a long way to delivering the town centre that we all so desperately want. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Working on the Town Centre Working Group, you know, we've all got a vested interest on the development of the town centre, you know, for ourselves and for future generations. Noting that a number of items on the agenda are being moved back for a decision at a later time, I just wonder about post-LGR announcement, the investment of money at this time, and will it get the job finished in the time we've got left before the dissolution of the council, or will it leave the job unfinished and for any future authority to complete? And I think having a balanced view on that is really important for a number of items going forward over the coming sort of 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Broughouse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Mackenzie, you indicated as well at one stage, haven't you? So, perhaps we ought to get back to standing up as we used to, maybe a bit clearer. Number of points on this. It's on the LGR point, really. As you know, there's a meeting next week, which is the first meeting of the LGR committee. Are you on that? I'm not sure. One of you, then James Bullen. So you'll see as that paperwork starts to roll through now, you'll start to see a timetable. There's nothing set in train yet, so everything's an open game. It's when the structural changes order comes in. But even when that order comes in, if we can get an agreement across all the local authorities in the area that we're in, that's about the work that we're doing, and that work's in train. That gets baked in to the process as we go through that. So pace is an issue, and we need to make sure about that. And as it unfolds, there'll be a whole host of other stuff as well, which will be coming through by the filing cabinet. So for this, it's a matter of getting it in now and getting on. The basis of my understanding at this point in time is the Chief Executive and others have spoken to the other local authorities, including Warwickshire County Council, on the basis of what capital programmes and ideas and things that are coming through, on an informal basis, because there was nothing formalised at that point. Now we're moving into that formal structure, all that will come out, but that will also have to come out from North Warwickshire and from Nuneaton and Bedworth as well. So at this point in time, even like the work of the LGR committee will be picking that up and putting that into timetables, then we need to make sure that officers are moving and progressing those forwards. And if there are any blockages, we need to unblock those as we go through there into that time. Partly regardless of whatever happens post-May 2027, any new unitary authority that comes into position, my view is that they would not want to stop the progress that is being made on this so far, because it is of value to them for future income and for future of that unitary authority. So the work is on that LGR committee initially, which starts next week, which meets in public, and it will be transparent, and the paperwork for that will be placed on the website and allow people to interrogate that website. There may well be some confidential items that come into that, but I think that's where we're going to get to grips with the items that you're starting to talk about, and in a great more detail as well. And hopefully that partly answers your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roodhouse. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I think there's never a good time to spend money. I think there's always a reason not to spend money. But when you look at the economics and you look at the social value that Ragham is providing, any new authority will want business rate receipts. They are going to want to see that business activity. They will support economic development. And this clearly provides both a massive amount of social value, but it also provides a footfall draw which supports the town centre. And when we're talking about nearly 100,000 people, if you don't invest in it, it will slowly decline off. You know, when things like the heating system are at the end of their days, when the accessibility is not as good as it should be, when it's difficult to move school groups through the building and you can't move big pieces of art, there comes a point where you do actually have to say, I'm investing. And where you're going to get a 5-to-1 potentially from the Arts Council on this. That's a good rate of return that you're getting there from the money that you're putting in. So whilst I appreciate sometimes the argument is we shouldn't spend money on things, actually the argument is if we don't spend money on things, we won't retain that kind of economic value that we're having. But nor, and I think this is almost more fundamental, nor will we have that incredible excitement of when you come in, it's the annual rugby art competition, the Rugby Open, thank you, I'm struggling with the proper names for things today, but it's the Rugby Open, and you come in, and the artwork is fabulous, it's really fabulous, actually top notch, it's putting you through a whole new stream of artists who are going to make it big nationally, but the excitement of seeing this new work being created, the community that's created around that, you can put a value on it. It's called putting a social value on it, but it's just fabulous. And I would implore all those new councillors, take every opportunity for every invitation that comes along to see the work that goes on at Ragham at the different openings. It is absolutely superb. And we have an incredible, incredible community of artists and makers, and we owe it to them to keep nurturing them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you very much. Colleagues have articulated the case very well. I would just like to come back to the question around LGR and the broader question around other funding as well, because you alluded to some papers that we've deferred. And I would just refer back to the comments that I'd said at scrutiny and the instruction that I've given to the Chief Officer to look through the lens of first of all, that we don't scale back our ambition. So we've got a mandate, and the people of Rugby want us to develop the town centre, for example, because we're on that subject matter at the moment. But there'll be other things too. There'll be things about public safety. There's other things that are incumbent on us to do something about now and continue. So I don't want to put the brakes on, assuming what a future authority may or may not want to do. So we maintain the scale of our ambition, but we do have to be responsible in what we're handing over to the next authority. So I believe we need to look through the lens of what can we do and deliver now, and what must we do and deliver now, and can be delivered before that vesting day in that handover period. And for those other projects, how far can we take them? And what does a good and reasonable handover look like? So that we are able to pass projects on that the new authority can continue with. So yeah, and there may be some things and the third bucket is that, well, actually, that seemed like a good idea at the time when we first wrote the corporate strategy 2-3 years ago, whenever that was. But now, through the new lens of LGR, that's something that we need to say, well, we're not going to do that. So that work is ongoing, and that work will come back to Cabinet and Council.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to speak to the power of Ragam through the lens of a parent of young children at the start of the summer holidays. Ragam is an incredible resource for education, but perhaps more importantly, inspiration for our young people. And we've spoken today about the power of Ragam, about reflecting on the past and capturing what's gone before. But there's also enormous social value in the inspiration of the next generation of the people that are going to keep our fabulous culture going in rugby and see the arts into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Thompson.
Just want to add into that lovely description, Councillor Henderson. Ragam has actually been earmarked as one of the locations for a changing facility. And I do know, working with at least one of the residents, how much that would be valued and how much it's missing, not being able to take her child out and to go and to do events. So it's something that has come through the Disability Voice Forum. It's something that we took in and have put funding in the last budget. And actually, Ragam is a very good place to make a inclusive environment.
Thank you for that, Councillor Barnett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't want to labour the point too much because I think everyone's sort of kind of said what I'm going to say, really. But I do think it's really important what Councillor Stewart has raised in terms of that funding, making sure that when we do move forward to a North Warwickshire Council, that Ragam is accounted for. And I think, again, with what Councillor Henderson has just said as well, I think it's really important that we recognise how important Ragam is. I was at an event in Tamworth and Arden over the weekend called the Nick Drake Gathering. And what I found really interesting, I was talking to a young lady there, must be about 22 or 23, and we got talking, and she works for the D.A.V. And she said, I work for the D.A.V, I also work for local councils. And I mentioned I was from Rugby, and the first thing she said is, Rugby, yeah, Ragam, I've been up to the museum and the gallery, and it's really, really lovely. And so, yeah, without wanting to repeat too much, they've had some incredible stuff on there, and I really thank Councillor O'Rourke and others for putting so much time into Ragam. And, since I've become a councillor, it's really transformed, I think. I became a councillor principally for the arts to be supported, and I can't claim a lot of input on this whatsoever, but I thank those who've taken that forward. So, yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barnett. Councillor Glavatsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not really a question that I have, but really a bit of a comment regarding the idea of spending £2 million for a museum. Councillor Mackenzie was kind enough to tell us about the footfall that we've seen in Rugby, increasing footfall thanks to the museum. Yes, I am young councillor. I've been here only past few weeks, but I do see emerging pattern here. My feeling is that the ruling party has unusual understanding of economy of any town. We're talking about increasing footfall through spending £2 million for a museum. Are we calling ourselves London? Are we calling ourselves Stratford-upon-Avon that's got museum written all over its face? We don't. We are the birthplace of rugby, the rugby that is one of the most famous games across the globe, and we don't use it. We're spending £2 million on a museum, hoping that a museum will attract people because there's an art gallery there. We have a fantastic park, which Madam Mayor was kind enough to inform us just got the Green Flag Award, and that's fantastic. Why is it standing empty? Why aren't we preparing art exhibitions there every weekend through the peak of the summer? I'm also talking with business, dear councillors, and I fail to see what you see. I don't get the feedback saying how Rugby Brough Council is asking art in general, artists to come and exhibit, to come and show, to do performance. I don't see it. Our park is empty. Our streets are empty. We're organizing 3-4 events across the year, and we're happy that they're there. And when I speak with the officers responsible for that, I get saying the business needs to do it themselves. Excuse me, dear councillors, but spending £2 million on a museum that's having minimal effect on local economy, while we have to spend £2 million on the bridge that requires emergency servicing, emergency repairs, is just not responsible. Thank you.
Any more speakers?
Thank you. And thank you to most of you for your lovely words and kind support. And I'd love to extend an invitation to our new councillor over there to come and spend some time with me, with the local artists, and I can show you all the exhibitions that are on every week. I'm quite happy to spend a few weekends with you, taking you around, showing you all the stuff that's going on, because there is a very strong community locally, and I think it's on me, as you're a new councillor, to induct you well into what actually does go on locally, because it's such an important thing to the people of Rugby. You know, it's a network of people that really care about stuff. And I just want to say something about the rugger. I love rugby. I'm absolutely passionate about it. It's something that myself and my late husband used to sort of follow. We used to go to Six Nations. We tried that one, investing loads of money in the World Cup. In fact, we tore out the museum to put it in place for quite a few years. And do you know what? We didn't get any footfall from it. And the numbers went down in the town centre, so it didn't really work out that well. But we do support the rugby in this town. We've worked with Rugby School very closely. I'm sure you've seen lots of stuff through the Love Rugby Festival, and we will continue to do that, and we have plans for next year. And I would welcome any thoughts that you've got, any positive thoughts, or any positive contributions that you want to make, that's fine. But I honestly do, genuinely want to take you around to meet some of these people that you're talking about, the local artists, because it is a growing thing in rugby. We haven't got, you know, there's not enough studios. That's part of some of the stuff that we'd like to develop in the broader sense around the town, to make the most of what we got, whether it's music, whether it's art, whatever it is. It's something that's very important to the people of Rugby. So please get in touch and I'll take you for a visit.
Thank you very much, and thanks for giving us a really detailed insight into rugby. I'd like to take this, I will now submit the confirmation and adoption of the whole report. In moving the confirmation and adoption of the whole report, this can take place en bloc or upon any member request. A vote can be taken separately in respect of each report. Does any member wish for a vote to be taken in respect of each individual report? Okay, so just hold on 1 second. Okay, so now we're going straight to Those against, please show. We have a couple of abstentions. Do we have any abstentions this time? Okay, so that motion is carried. To receive the reports of officers, the next item is to receive the report of the Strategic Director for place set out at item 7A of the agenda. The report concerns the local plan submission for examination and strategic environmental assessment. Councillor Mackenzie, will you move the report?
I so move.
Do I have a seconder?
I second it, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're back here with the local plan, and the reason we're back here with the local plan is that in a case between Oxford City Council and a local special interest group, they have applied to the High Court to apply the Environmental Assessment of Plans and Programmes Regulations 2024 on the process that Oxford City Council is doing in their local plan. So we have done what most councils do, which is post the Reg 19 consultation, the officers then submit it to the inspector to go forward to the inspection in public. This small group has argued that you have to also take into account whether there is any responses under the any responses to the sustainability appraisal that would change your decision as to whether you wish to go forward to the inspection in public. So it's not, it's just in relation to the sustainability appraisal and whether there have been any responses which would make you wish to change whether or not we go forward to the inspection. So it is not a discussion about whether we want site A over site B. It is literally around the responses to the sustainability appraisal, which was what could be required should the High Court rule around the Environmental Assessment of Plans and Programmes Regulations 2004. So what we have in the report are the consultations, and what is before us today, councillors, is to decide whether or not in their responses to the sustainability appraisal it changes our view. I'm not going to lead you on this. I hope you've all read all of the paperwork. My personal view is that it does not change it such that I would not wish to carry on with the inspection. So there is nothing that has come through in the consultations in relation to the sustainability appraisal that changes my decision to vote for continuing to go to the inspector. I throw it open to the floor. Thank you.
Councillor Mackenzie. Do we have any speakers tonight? Yes. So Councillor Kedwood, please.
Thank you. I just have a question. If we arrive at exactly the same conclusion, even after receiving representation from 6,000 individuals and organisations, what reassurance can we give to the public that they've been listened to rather than just consulted to tick a box?
Any more speakers? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very quickly, I wanted to say I think it's important to establish that this is put forward in this way because it's what actually is better for the town, rather than saying, you know, it's expedient that we do it because it slips through some kind of tricky legal process. It isn't that at all. It's patently obvious that if we do have to delay what happens with the local plan, then we are in a very difficult position in terms of subsequent reorganisation. And I think that would be a terrible mistake if we delayed it just on what in effect is a technicality. That's what I think. The quality of the consultation I can't comment on because, to be perfectly honest, I didn't look at every single return on the consultation. So perhaps somebody else can answer that more fully for you. But the consultation was there, and it was more than a cosmetic exercise. I think it's important to establish that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any more speakers? Councillor Daly, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I won't comment on this as I did at the previous vote on this. I still am not really supportive of this local plan, but I will be holding my nose and voting for it because of the changes that were brought in for Hill Morton. I am glad to see in the consultation responses that there is specific reference to the completely unsuitable site for wind turbines close to Holton. I'm glad that gets a reference, but I just want to say that I will be supporting this local plan because, and I think this is important, a bad local plan is better than no local plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daly.
I object to the proposal submission of the local plan for examination on the basis of protecting the public purse. For a bit of background, between 2011 and 2021, the census shows Rugby district population grew by more than 14% to 114,000, with recent estimates showing a further growth to around 8,000. Yet Whitehall want us to provide even more medium density housing. I want to briefly go back to the census of 1991, which shows the UK had a total population around 50 million, of which 47 million identified themselves as white British. In 2021 census, the total population had allegedly grown to around 60 million. There's some estimates closer to 80, but yet only around 44.5 million people again identified as white British. There is some fuzzy data around there due to self-identification, but I think the point stands. Even if we assume the numbers of the white British had remained constant, this is to show that since 1990, the population growth in our country has been driven by migration, since population growth during the country's migration, which has been government policy since 1997. For many years, migration has been bubbling along at 200,000. Yet Boris Johnson, the year March 2023, so you think it's not relevant?
Point of order.
Can I just
national policy?
Sorry, through the chair, please. I just want to say that can we keep it relevant to the debate, please?
Okay then. So what I was getting on to say was that it's national policy which is driving the migration, which is driving the need to build massive amounts of housing. Yet for some reason doesn't seem to bring on the infrastructure, doesn't bring on the same level of infrastructure at the same time.
Sorry, I have to intervene as Mayor, sorry. It is...
all right, so can I just finish off?
Sorry, I just want to... Sorry, can I finish?
Yeah, sure.
If we can just stick to the local plan and not interject with facts that are actually national facts. So let's just stick to what the debate is about, please. Thank you. Right,
as Whitehall has now decided our fate, that we are going to be merged with North Warwickshire and Nuneaton and Bedford, I would question that our duty to protect the public purse is more pressing than our belief that this body has the mandate to decide what goes on here. And I think that shortly after we are dissolved, this local plan could well become obsolete and superseded by a new plan. So all that work will be done for nothing. So this study of the environmental report will go to naught. Okay? So I would just suggest that the resources that would have been expended be diverted into the planning department to address planning applications rather than redeveloping the plan.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, that was disappointing, frankly. On lots of levels, that was very disappointing. When we're debating in the chamber, we're debating the papers in front of us, and the purpose of this paper and the paper itself sets out very clearly the purpose and the scope. So to make this a political issue and to hear the words white British and immigration and create a platform for that, frankly, was very disappointing. To Councillor Kedwood's comment about consultation, just to kind of reassure you that, and I know that I'm pretty sure that I saw you in the chamber at times around the consultation. So I think your relationship with this process is a bit like mine. It goes a bit before, and we wore different hats. This has been the consultation on this local plan has been over some years, and there's been different rounds of consultation. And this final round of consultation, it's not written into statute that we need to reply to residents. It is now for the inspector to see, and I'm sure the portfolio holder will speak more. And if councillors want to understand more about how local plan processes work, we can make time for that. We are very happy to help new councillors learn the ropes, so to speak. Yeah, on the coming back to yourself, Councillor Pullin. I think I will leave it there for now. I would welcome an opportunity to speak with you. I am quite cross about what's just happened in the chamber, but I will extend the arm of friendship and say to you that I'm very happy to talk you through how this process works as the ex-portfolio holder. I'm hoping that Councillor Mackenzie will also extend the olive branch to you. We all come into this chamber from different political points of view. Our responsibility is to the residents of Rugby in representing them well. I would therefore remind you that this local plan received consultation responses from thousands of residents that were for aspects of the plan. So to come forward now on a political issue and seek to derail something that has been through a democratic process and has got actually a lot of support for it, I would argue is not fair and proper representation of the residents that we all serve. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to follow on from my colleague Councillor Daly's comments, which is that we've said this throughout as a group, that there's elements of this plan that we do like, there's elements that we're not so keen on. Pardon? I didn't quite catch that. But yeah, essentially, you'll probably see the same voting tonight. We'll have elements of some of us voting for the plan, some of us against, some of us abstaining. Just a comment that I would like to make, I've already said this on social media and I'm happy to say it in here as well, is I just find it interesting that we're going through this local plan and the former Labour leader chose not to restand his seat and to see through this plan, whether elected or not. I just think it's an important point and it raises questions about the plan, personally. Thank you.
Councillor O'Rourke.
Sorry, is that... Yeah.
I thought you did say you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed by some of the stuff that's been said as well. And Councillor Ward, I've got a lot of respect for you. Get on really well with you. We shared the sort of platform quite a lot when you were my deputy mayor and whatever. It is a little bit disappointing, really, that you feel like that and you've said that, particularly what you've said about the ex-leader. He's not here to sort of, defend what you've just... He can't defend himself because he's not here. Honestly, I would not do that. I wouldn't do that. Derek's not here tonight and I wouldn't do that to him either. So I am disappointed and it's so out of character for you. It really is. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, please.
I just wanted to support Councillor Mackenzie and in many ways Councillor Daly, saying actually the importance of getting this plan through. I am actually not the councillor for Wolvie, but I do know that actually a lot of developers have been circling there and it's only the plan that is actually the defence against having masses of building that the residents really don't want. So, the plan was very helpful to Wolvie. And it certainly is a case that it is now some defence against some very unwanted development in that village.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No comments this time, just numbers. We're all talking about consultations and listening to residents, so I just wanted to quote a few numbers. Development around Walsgrave Hill, or more commonly to most residents known as Kumbabi, so generally Greenbelt, gathered no supports. Developments around Southwest Rugby gathered no supports. Cotton Park East, one supporter recorded. Newbold Manor Lane, 4 supporters against 558 objections.
Point of order.
Lowford Field Farms.
Point of order, please. Point of order, please.
At Long Lowford. Dear councillors, you're talking about support. Which support? Where
of
are
order,
you getting
please.
that support from? We are talking about consultations. These are the numbers that were gathered through the
Sorry,
consultations.
can I just stop you there? Can I just, after conferring, and we do need to stick to what's actually on the agenda, it's a reminder to all to make sure that the comments are on the report and not on the local plan generally. So this is a very important indication. Please ensure that the comments are of the report, not the local plan generally. Thank you. Any more speakers? Councillor Timms, please.
Yes, you won't be surprised that I will be voting against this, because for my rural area, this is catastrophic. And it's actually the most politically driven plan I've ever seen. And I've been councillor for quite a long time. And particularly not taking notice of the consultations, not looking at the answers. Historic England
Point of order.
put in an objection to the Walsgrave site.
Point of order,
it's
Mayor.
There, and it's in the report. It is in the report about Historic England.
If we do stick to the environmental assessment and not the local
The Historic
plan.
England objection is in the report. So I am allowed to comment on it. It is in there. It is an actual fact in the report. I've read it. It's in the report. And so I will be voting against it. That plan for that site is absolutely ludicrous. It is really going against everything you talk about in Rugby Town. Everything saying we must preserve our heritage. We must do this. And you go about destroying the heritage that sits between Rugby and Coventry. That's exactly what you're doing. So I will be continuing the fight against this plan.
Thank you for that, Councillor Timms. Councillor Roothouse, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the standing orders say you should get up and stand up rather than putting your hands up. Perhaps we should get back to that ruling again, really. It just helps, I think, the structure of debate going on. I would expect nothing else of Councillor Timms. Go for it. Do it. I love it. It's great. Because, you know, that's what you're doing. You're representing the area and you're fighting for the area. And quite right. That's what it should be about. And no doubt you'll be at the public inquiry, as I will be as well, with the inspector. I'll be speaking for Hill Morton and for protecting the Rainsbrook Valley, saying it's great, that's what we want, and the rest of it, and you'll be doing the other bits and pieces. And I'm sure there's probably, I don't know, 20 other different votes or voices around here. But tonight we are discussing the strategic environmental assessment and Oxford City and the flaming lawyers again. You know, sorry, Mr. Murphy. But you know, that's what it's about. It's about the appeals, lawyers and the rest of it and the fights that have been taking place. And that's what this is about. And actually bring it back through the council so it can go back into the process. Will it change anything that's there? And then Councillor Daly's dead, yeah, you're dead right, aren't you? You know, it's not the best plan. We all know it's not the best plan. And actually, do you want this to carry on through without anything at all into March 2027 and into 2028? I don't. I absolutely don't. I'll be up for no. You know, that's the worst of all nightmares, I think. You might be fighting for Brinklow then, but it might be even worse, I think, that's coming on through. So it's not perfect, what we're seeing here. And then the battles that are going down with Oxford City, let them do that. They need to do that. We need to sort ourselves out to make sure we've covered everything off so the plan that we have going forward is the best plan that we can. And for us, you know, Hill Morton and Rainsbrook Valley, it's great. You know, it's good. For you, I'm sorry, it doesn't fit that way. So Madam Mayor, I will be voting for this and taking it through because it is what it is. In November, for those of you who've been on this trail for a number of years, hopefully you've had the emails from the planning inspector and it's all there telling you what to do and how to log in. Do it if you want to do it. If you're really serious about this, do it and turn up and come to some of the inquiries. Councillor Timms will be, with all her team and all her fellow QCs or KCs and God knows what else that's going on. I suppose Adrian Morritt might turn up with his as well. there'd be a whole bunch of lawyers making a stack of money from this as well. So, yeah, let's move on with the business. Let's accept this. Its consultations have gone on. It's gone on for a number of years. Local elected members hopefully have engaged all the way through the process on this. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. And we're only having to do this because flaming Oxford City in Oxfordshire can't get their act together about a local plan, basically. That's what it's about, and we need to make sure that what we're doing for our local plan inquiry is correct, is on the nail and gets through. Thank you.
Do we have any more speakers? Councillor Stewart? Before you go ahead, Councillor Stewart, if you don't mind, I just wanted to mention that anything that we do in chambers, we should always ensure that we've gone through the whole process of all the different steps that it took to create the local plan. Once we've understood all the steps, then to make deliberations would be very helpful.
I'm not entirely sure what that meant, Madam Mayor.
I'll just say that it's taken a very long time to develop this local plan. There have been many, many councillors involved in the process, and there have been many debates in chambers. So it's really good to, and this applies to everybody, just to make sure that they've done their research and they've done all the homework, they've gone through all the different steps, and they've understood it, very well, so that we are actually debating what is on the agenda, and that we save time as well where we can. Do carry on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I mean, I'm keenly listening to colleagues across the chamber. I mean, it's obviously a keenly important, item that needs to be decided upon. I think my takeaway from listening to everyone in here is, regardless of whether or not this is on the environmental element, that this is a vote on the local plan. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that balance. Yeah, there's lots of different views in the room, and I think it's going to be an interesting vote when it happens. But yeah, it's. I just wanted to provide that balance to the discussion.
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, this isn't a vote on the local plan. It is specifically a vote on the environmental
assessment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm not the leader. I'm Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I'm delighted to give a right reply. And first of all, I wish to remind the Chamber that what we're voting on is around the sustainability appraisal, and only around the sustainability appraisal, and whether we believe we can move forward in light of the consultation responses that mention the sustainability appraisal. So hopefully that's clear. We're voting on the sustainability appraisal. We have had lots of responses to the consultation. We've already had 2 previous rounds of consultation, and there has been a lot of change in the local plan over that period. The Reg 19 consultation was aimed at the inspector, not at us. That is the normal case of things. It is the inspector who normally then makes changes to the local plan in light of the Reg 19 consultations, because we have had 2 rounds to make changes, and we did make changes in both of those rounds. Some of the things that have been raised are actually detailed planning consent, and it would never feature in the local plan, but they are good points, and they will get captured, potentially, at a later stage. And I want to thank all of our residents who have responded, who have been to the various consultation meetings, who have been engaged in the process, and will continue to engage in the process as it continues forward, post the local plan being adopted and actually sites coming forward for development. We are in the situation, so I hope that's a response for you, Councillor Kedwood, about we do actually value the responses that have been there. We are at a different phase at this point. This plan, I think I just want to address the issue about whether it's worth doing this plan, because in case of the unitary, the plan will probably survive about 10 years before there becomes a unitary, the work starts on a unitary plan. Our other northern brethren, northeastern brethren have already done their plans, so we are the last of the three. At some point, there will be a unitary plan, but it is a pretty long way down the track, so there is a lot of time, and therefore assessing what is in front of us and deciding to keep the process moving forward or not is very important, because this will have longevity. I didn't particularly appreciate many of Councillor Pullen's comments, but I do wonder if he wishes the colleague sitting next to him to be homeless. And I will just leave that bit there. The plan was taken through by the portfolio holder. So the previous portfolio holder and the current portfolio holder are sitting here in the chamber. And I do want to allude to one other point that was made, which is developers are sniffing around everywhere, and they will try, and they are throwing up speculative applications and speculative consultations. They are like sharks circling blood in the water. It is incumbent on us to take our process here very seriously. Sorry, was there another question for me? It is important that we take this process very seriously. It is important that, that what we propose is environmentally sustainable. Is the plan perfect? I've never said at any point in this process that the plan is perfect. I do believe, however, it is in the eye of the beholder. And to use Councillor Timms' word that this plan is catastrophic, I think the residents of Dunchurch, Thurleston and Corston would feel that her plan was catastrophic. So just to sum up, we're voting on this, whether the sustainability appraisal consultation responses have impacted whether we wish to continue forward to the inspector, and my vote will be we keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. We'll now move this to the vote. Those in favour?
Madam Mayor, excuse me, I would...
Yes, Councillor Gavatsky.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I would like to ask for named vote, please.
So we have a number, we have 3 people up for that. So just give me a second. About to proceed with the recorded vote on that. So those in favour, please. Oh, sorry, recorded vote. So we're just about to proceed with that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to remind councillors that we are having a recorded vote on the recommendation, which is that having considered the responses to the Regulation 19 consultation, the Council reaffirms its decision of the 27th of January to submit to the Secretary of State for independent examination the submission, local plan and the other submission documents, including the Regulation 19 representations. So I'll call each member by their name in order, and if I could ask you to respond with for, against or abstain, I'd be very grateful. So starting with Councillor Bainbridge.
For.
Councillor Barnett.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Daly.
For.
Councillor Dumbleton. Councillor Claire Edwards. Councillor Sam Edwards. Councillor Freeman.
For.
Councillor Garcia. Councillor Gilias.
Abstain.
Councillor Gravatsky.
Against.
Councillor Hassel. Councillor Henderson.
For.
Councillor Howling. Councillor Caradia. Councillor Kedward.
For.
Councillor Dale Keeling. Councillor John Keeling.
For.
Councillor Mackenzie.
For.
Councillor Ish Mystery. Councillor Umesh Mystery.
For.
Councillor New.
For.
Councillor O'Rourke. Councillor Pym.
For.
Councillor Pullen.
Against.
Councillor Robinson. Councillor Roodhouse. Councillor Russell. Councillor Sanderson.
4.
Councillor Sayani.
4.
Councillor Stewart. Councillor Thomas. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Timms.
Against.
Councillor Trimble. That's a 4, thank you. Councillor Ward.
Against.
And Councillor Willis.
Abstain.
And could I just check that there's nobody whose name I haven't called out? That's good. So that's 28 votes for the motion, 7 votes against and 2 abstentions.
This motion is carried. Of the agenda. The report concerns the appointment of the Council's Section 151 officer. Councillor Mistry, will you move the report? So we're now moving on to Councillor Mistry. Will you move the report?
Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to move the recommendation to the Council. Thank you.
I second.
Perfect. Okay, so Councillor Mistry, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report seeks full Council's approval to designate an interim statutory Section 151 officer following the departure of the former Section 151 officer on July the 3rd, 2026. The designation of Section 151 officer is a matter reserved to the full Council, and it's essential that the Council continues to meet its statutory duty to have a suitable qualified officer responsible for the proper administration of the financial affairs at all times. The recommendation before us is that, it's just saying, Matthew Crosby be designated as the interim financial officer and performance and Section 151 officer with effect from 22nd of July, which is today, until such time as permanent appointment is made. In this role, he'll be empowered to exercise the full statutory responsibility and delegated power of the Chief Financial Officer as set out in the Council Constitution. Matthew Crosby has the necessary expertise, and some of you have already met him over the last few weeks, and experience to undertake this important responsibility, and his appointment will ensure continuity of the leadership, sound financial governance, and compliance with the statutory obligation during the interim period. Matthew Crosby will also assume all existing management responsibility associated with the Section 151 officer's role, ensuring stability and continuity across the Council finances and performance function. Madam Mayor, this is an important appointment that safeguards the Council financial management arrangement and enables us to continue discharging our duties effectively without interruption. I therefore move that the Council approve the designation of Matthew Crosby as interim Chief Financial Officer and Performance and Section 155 officer is effective from today until permanent appointment is carried out. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mistry. Do we have any speakers here tonight? Any speakers on this subject? Councillor Robinson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The officer has left the room, as is protocol, because we're going to be talking about him. But I do hope he'll watch this back, because I do just want to say that I'm actually delighted. The only thing that I'm disappointed about is that this is an interim measure and not a permanent measure. In very short time, I've been very impressed by how Matthew Crosby has contributed very quickly and very well. So I wholeheartedly endorse and support this appointment. Thank you.
Any more speakers? That's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to invite Councillor Mistry now to right of reply, please.
Just a couple of words, just to echo what the leader had just said, and quite rightly, I have the privilege over the last few weeks to work with Matthew Crosby, and I think we are lucky to have him. And as the leader rightly says, he's only here as an interim. We would like to have it full time, but anyway, we are where we are. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
For that, a very important role as well within the council. Okay, so those in, we're going to now take this to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? This motion is carried. So we're now moving to item 8 on the agenda, which is notices of motion. Just a minute. Oh, there's a... So the next item is to receive the report of the monitoring officer set out at item 7C of the agenda. The report concerns an urgent decision taken under delegated powers. Councillor Mistry, will you move this report, please?
Madam Mayor, I move so.
Great. Do we have a seconder?
I second.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
God, somebody switched the fan off. Getting a bit hot. Madam Mayor, just quickly, it seemed like a long time ago, and those who were present, the members, recall that in 2026-27 fees and charges schedule were approved by the council back in February 2026. Following a subsequent review, officer identified a small number of discrepancy between the version considered by the scrutiny in January 2026 and the final schedule approved by the council at the budget setting. The intention was for the most fees and charges to increase by 3.8% in line with the medium-term financial strategy and September 2025 CPI inflation figure. While those increases were generally applied correctly, some specific rounding adjustment made by the service manager were inadvertently omitted with the final schedule was published. This report therefore seeks to correct those administrative errors and to ensure that the approved fees accurately reflect the council's original intention. In addition, a few of the new fees for 26-27 need to be added to the schedule to reflect new activities and service that will generate additional income to the council. These amendments do not represent a change in policy direction. Rather, they ensure that the fees and charges schedules are accurate, up to date, and enable service to recover the appropriate income due to the council. I therefore recommend to the council to approve the revised fees and charges schedule as set out in the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mistry. Can I invite speakers now, please? No? Okay, so Councillor Mistry, no, you're okay. All right. Okay, so we're now going to take this to vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions?
Two.
Two. The motion is carried. Okay, so we're now moving on to notices of motion pursuant to Standing Order 11, item 8, that is. In accordance with the Constitution, there are 2 motions on notice to consider this evening. Councillor Stewart, will you please move the motion set out at item 8 of the agenda, notice of which has been given under Standing Order 11?
Madam Mayor, I so move.
Who will second the motion?
I will second.
I will second, Madam
Sorry,
Mayor.
what did you say? Sorry. So could you just repeat that, please? Okay, Councillor Kedwood will be seconding it. Okay, fine. Okay, I call on Councillor Stewart to speak to his motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following the government's decision to repeal the Vagrancy Act, prevention, support and long-term solutions are now vital to protect those most in need. Veterans often face unique challenges, including PTSD, physical disabilities and difficulties transitioning to civilian life, which can lead to housing instability. Supporting our veterans is a matter of national and community honour, given all that they have done, given all that they have contributed to keeping each and every one of us safe. The Armed Forces Covenant commits public bodies to ensuring that those who serve or have served in the armed forces and their families are treated fairly. Rugby Brough Council has a long-standing commitment to supporting vulnerable residents and has previously demonstrated support for the armed forces community. Therefore, my motion is as follows: that this council recognises... Therefore, that the Council recognises the critical issue of veterans facing homelessness and the need for immediate action to support those at risk. Investigate how to gain access to some of the £159 million grant through the National Plan to End Homelessness. Directs the administration to develop and implement a comprehensive support programme for veterans at risk of homelessness, including increased funding for housing assistance, mental health services and job training. Calls upon the relevant departments to collaborate and consult with veteran organisations, non-profits and charities to enhance access to services. Examine all available mechanisms within existing housing legislation, guidance and policy that could be used to better support veterans and members of the armed forces. Consider whether any amendments to the Council's housing allocation policy or associated procedures could strengthen support for veterans whilst remaining compliant with statutory requirements, and requests a report to be delivered back to the relevant scrutiny committee and thereafter to Cabinet for consideration.
Much, Councillor Stewart. Are there any speakers, please? Councillor O'Rourke, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move forward an amendment at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's to be seconded.
Councillor Stewart, do you accept the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've engaged with Councillor O'Rourke and do accept the amendment to the report, to the motion as laid out.
Perfect. Can we have a seconder for the amendment? Is it Councillor Edwards?
Yes. Can I second that amendment, please? And reserve my right to speak as well. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Councillor O'Rourke, please, for
Thank
speaking.
you. And can I start by saying thank you to both the groups opposite for accepting the amendment. And I think it goes without saying that every single person in this chamber absolutely supports their veterans, their reservists. It's absolutely core to our principles. We absolutely do. I'm really, really passionate about this. It started really on my journey as mayor. When I was mayor of Rugby, I was approached by the local veterans, who I know quite well, and they eat hearty breakfast quite often in certain places in the town. So I joined them a few times, and they did approach me during, it was, I think, sort of 2023, 22, to say that they were a little bit concerned because the old covenant hadn't been re-signed. So I duly invited, when I was mayor, Derek Paul, the leader of the Conservative group, to the Chamber, and he was very supportive, and he was agreed to sort of re-sign the covenant. Later in the year, as you know, we took over the administration, and at that point I became a portfolio holder for the portfolio that I've got now, but in addition to that I also had equality and inclusion under me as well. Now it was really important to me that, you know, after the promises I've made to the veterans, we'd actually sort of presented them an actual signed copy of the covenant. I think it was in March of that year when I was mayor. We presented them with this signed copy. It was framed up of the fact that we were committing as a council to going forward to be, you know, to support the covenant. And I presented it at St Andrew's Church at a special flag day, and they were absolutely delighted. I had quite a few conversations with them. When I then became a portfolio holder and took on the E&D stuff, there was a lot of work to do. I don't want to go into it, but there's quite a bit of work to do, and I'm sure my colleague, Councillor Garcia, would support me in that. One of the things I did want to do, though, was to actually take forward the covenant because not a lot had happened. I duly worked with the then lead veteran officer, who was Lee Haswell, and I'd just like to say for the minutes that he did an absolutely extraordinary job. He did have a few blockages, but I managed to unblock the blockages. It seems to be something I'm quite good at. And we proceeded very quickly to silver. We went straight past bronze onto silver, and we received a national award in terms of doing that. Completely on my own. I decided when I was the portfolio holder with E&D, with the agreement of the chair of the E&D group, that we would ensure that that would be reported in on a regular basis and monitored at the EDI group, which it was, along with all the other housing issues. And the housing officer attends those meetings and provides regular updates to us. So we're sort of all on the same page here, actually. We all want that. And what this amendment does is it acknowledges that. We welcome the fact that we're all on the same page here, but it also actually builds on the work that's already started to ensure that we look at it through scrutiny in other ways as well, to ensure that everybody's focused on moving on towards the goal and doing everything that we need to do. I believe we have. There's a lot of evidence there which we're happy to share to show that we have done, I think, most of it. However, we should never be complacent, so it's always good to have double checks and, you know, make sure that everything is, you know, in place and that we do what we should do, because we should do right by the veterans. One of the things I did say when I spoke to you earlier was that I would make a commitment, and I've already spoken to the new chair of E&D and the portfolio holder, Councillor Mystery, that we will make sure that and they are already engaged, the veterans, but through the new officer, Amy Cavendish, she is engaging with them, but we will also invite them to attend the E&D meetings. I've already asked the chair, and you're more than happy to do that and involve them in any way we can. I think it's a good thing to do that, because I'm sure there'll be other stuff that drops out, which, you know, is beyond housing as well, which we might be able to help with. So that's all well and good. I just want to finish off by just reminding you this is really important to us all. And I'm going off slightly off script, but at the moment, I'm very involved in working on a memorial garden locally for somebody called Woodbine Willie, who was a local vicar canon at St Andrew's Church during the First World War. And he actually served in the First World War in Flanders, where we lost lots and lots of our people. He served from 1915 to 2018. And when I looked at that, we're now working on trying to raise money to build a memorial garden. But the thing that really sort of touched me more than anything was reading the story. What an incredible person.
I would like you to wrap up very shortly.
1 minute. So he was just such an incredible person that used to go out and give cigarettes to those poor young men that were in the trenches, that were dying, fighting for their country in appalling situations. And I would invite you to join with me to help fundraise for it, because I think it's a really laudable thing to do. But I'd also like to say I lost my great-uncle in the First World War on the 1st of September 2018. And as a result of... 1918. And as a result of that, all that stuff that those people did, it brought that war to an end. So by November that year, the war had ended, and we owe great thanks to those people. And we have something in Rugby that we could do to remember that. Thank you. Sorry, I know I've got a bit off script.
I allowed
really
you
sorry.
to continue because it was very close to your heart, so I do understand. Okay, so...
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I say thank you very much? And I must say thank you very much as portfolio holder for housing and communities for the opportunity to speak to this amendment, because I think it's a really important amendment. We in Rugby have done a lot on housing. We've done a lot on tackling rough sleeping. We're getting better all the time, and I think we need to put on record our thanks to our officers for all their hard work, because they are truly passionate about tackling rough sleeping. They're passionate about providing suitable housing that is good quality, that is affordable and appropriate to their needs. And that's a mission that we have, and we'll continue with that. Local rough sleeping, we are doing an awful lot on. We had 60 verified rough sleepers in 25-26. But we're only aware of one individual who had a veteran verified armed forces background. So we need to bear in mind that whilst the national figures imply there are a lot of veterans who are facing homeless, the reality in Rugby is we've got to get it in proportion. However, in the last 2 years, in 25-26 and 24-25, a total of 6 veteran households joined a housing register. 6 veteran households secured social housing allocations, and there is currently 1 veteran household registered on the housing register. We have to do this in proportion, but I am really delighted that we have a footpath that we need to progress on, and that we have bronze and silver award. Gold award would be wonderful. We need to work towards that. I'm also very keen that despite not getting the award of funding for Coventry, Warwickshire and Rugby in the last round of the Valor scheme, we have an opportunity now to move forward and reapply again, and it would be great to get that through scrutiny and the EDI working group, so we have the best possible application to do that. And finally, I want to actually welcome this aspect of local government reorganisation. We have a lot of veterans in the north of our area. They're at Brancourt. We have a lot of veterans in Nuneaton. They are Gurkhas. They are a very powerful and strong community. And I think working together across the new North Warwickshire, that is a really powerful thing that we can get involved with. And that should be one of our missions, to make LGR work for us as part of that bigger picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Edwards. Any more speakers? No? Councillor Mackenzie, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the proposal and the amendment. I think it's important we bring this forward. And as a granddaughter of a career naval officer, I saw the impact that had on my mother, of the instability that comes with serving and the cost that it comes to families who serve, where they move from post to post following his mostly very active service in the Navy, and he was in action in Palestine, then the Second World War. He did 2 tours of Korea, and he was then flag commander he was commander of the Pacific and then commander of the Atlantic, because he was Canadian. So I am the proud daughter of an immigrant, but I recognise that it's important that homelessness doesn't just affect the veteran, it very much affects the families, and it is something that potentially they carry through for the rest of their lives, and it certainly affected my mother for the rest of her life. And that constant moving was very hard, and I think we need to be mindful that the people who come through, the veteran families, potentially have had quite a lot of difficult housing. A lot of the housing that we see for armed forces is not wonderful. In fact, it's a bit of a disgrace, really, a lot of the armed forces housing. And that does take a toll on people. That very much takes a toll on people. So I'm glad to see this proposal. I think this is incredibly important that we are mindful of the sacrifice that is made. I'm really pleased that we don't have very many instances of it here in Rugby. I think that is a relief. And I look forward to seeing the papers that go through to scrutiny over the coming months and years. Thank you.
I'm very glad that that we've discussed this and given time to a very important matter in Chambers tonight. Right to reply, Councillor Stewart.
Just in brief, Madam Mayor, I'm obviously really pleased that this particular point has resonated with so many people in the chamber. I'm sure we all know or have family that are serving or have served in the military, and I think this is just a really important point to acknowledge. My future brother-in-law has just come out of the Navy, having served on the nuclear submarines, and if he continues to upset my sister, he may be a victim of the homelessness. So shout out to you, James. Thank you.
Thank you for that, very insightful. We are now, as the amendment has been accepted, we will have a single vote on the motion as amended. Okay. So all those in favour? I can see this is unanimous, very important to everybody in the room, so good to hear. From Councillor Ward. I've acknowledged it. Thank you. Right, so the abstention is actually, I have to make very clear to the House, the reason for his abstention is because it's a conflict of interest. Moving on now, so Councillor Stewart, will you please move the motion set out at item 8B of the agenda, notice of which has been given under Standing Order 11.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I so move.
And who will second that motion?
I will second,
Councillor
Madam Mayor.
Gabatsky. Thank you very much. Okay. I call on Councillor Stewart to speak to his motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just before I begin, I just want to fess up that I accidentally read an older version of the motion, and I'm sure Mr Murphy will be slapping my knuckles after the meeting. So I just wanted to acknowledge that I'd done that. Given that we got the amendment through, I think it's fine, but apologies. Thank you.
I will have to actually, if there's anything that goes offline, I'll have to confer, okay, so just so you know, okay.
Fly tipping remains an ongoing problem in our local communities, and more needs to be done to proactively tackle the problem. Residents I've engaged with in my short time as an elected member have all decried the frequency of the issue, the harm in their local areas, and also the amount of time these issues remain unresolved. Fly tipping is unsightly and unpleasant, and in our urban communities, and environmentally damaging in our rural communities. We have diverse and varied demographics across the borough, and not everyone can afford the fees attached to bulky waste removal. I propose a trial mirroring German municipalities' bulk waste removal collection days, and that they should be rolled out to provide limited days of free collection on larger items. This will be a proactive measure which will aim to reducing fly tipping, supporting those most in need, and an alternative to the current reactive approach to managing the problem. And therefore not to make the same mistake again. So therefore my motion is as follows, that this council recognises that fly tipping is a blight on our local communities and a potential hazard to people and the environment. Requests that Cabinet, working with the relevant portfolio holder and officers, provides costings for the rollout of a bulky waste amnesty scheme on a trial basis, with results to be correlated against fly tipping reports recorded during the trial period. Requests that Cabinet directs officers to undertake an urgent review of all logged reports of fly tipping and to produce a remediation plan to clear the existing backlog within existing budgetary provision. Requests that Cabinet introduces a KPI tracking the number of fly tipping reports and the time taken to respond to the complaint, and the time taken to clear the waste following a report. And finally, it requests a report to be delivered back to the relevant scrutiny committee and thereafter to Cabinet for consideration on the performance of the proposed trial and feasibility of a longer-term provision on the service.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, so do we have any speakers? Councillor Edwards, please.
Thank you. Just to propose an amendment, friendly amendment. I'm happy to talk now. I'm happy to talk about it now if
Just confirm.
seconded.
Can I second or reserve my right to speak?
Okay, great. Speak to your amendment, please.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Councillor Stewart. I'm fully supportive of the principles behind what he's raised today. Fly tipping is a real issue in our communities. As we go around the residents, speaking to them, it's clearly an issue of frustration for many. It affects businesses, residents, our communities alike, and really I just want to say that fully on board with trying to tackle this. I fully support the idea of KPIs to measure the success rate of this. I understand that you'd like to keep point 4, which is fine. And I think this is an example of us working together across the chamber where we can really have an impact on this issue, because it does affect every community, both urban area and rural area. And so this amendment will feed into that notion that we need to roll this amnesty scheme out, not just to urban, but also rural. I know that Councillor Roodhouse wants to say a little bit more as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just for clarity, Councillor Stewart and I spoke about the amendment and the wishes that he'd like to keep point 4 in the main body of the motion. So we're quite happy for our amendment to readjust to that, just making sure that that's all going right. Good on that, and I believe Councillor Stewart will then accept the amendment, and that will become the substantive motion. So that's all good, and we can all go home in a bit, which is great. Fly tipping, as we all know, is a major issue, whether it's urban or rural, and I think what's being brought forward here actually does start some of that work. Also, from the position that I know, I didn't fully realise the amount of work that was going on because of the new legislation which David Burrows and his team were bringing forward in the way of strategic documents and other plans and policies. Probably most members in this chamber don't know, actually, because it's the new legislation around fly tipping. So the more we can actually build this onto this and bring that out at the same time, actually will help the whole process. So I thank Councillor Stewart for his discussions, and we're all good, and let's all go home in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roodhouse. There's a timer on now. Okay, so Councillor Stewart.
No, we're just checking if he accepts the amendment.
Yeah, we're just checking now, Neil, sorry. Councillor Stewart, do you accept the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do accept the amendment on the grounds that point 4 is reintroduced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. As portfolio holder, my other hat is on regulation and safety, and actually enforcement of fly tipping comes under me. Our officers take copious notes of fly tipping incidents. There's around 1,500 a year. They do a mapping exercise. Our community safety wardens check where they are, what sort of waste it is, whether it's on public or private land, and we'll work with Work Services Unit to make sure that if it is on public land, they can get it cleared quickly. The problem is when it's on private land, and that's an issue in rural areas and in urban areas, but they are two different problems, which is why we're proposing a slightly different approach to urban and rural areas, because in rural areas there are lots of incidents, but there are lots of people who come in and dump waste. Quite often commercial operators and criminal gangs, actually, and cause havoc In our urban areas, it's a slightly different picture. There is new legislation coming through. I'm pleased to say that John Slinger, our MP, was instrumental in getting that legislation through. So we have a lot more tools that we can use to enforce better in the future. What we need to do is that we are tackling the criminality and not upsetting our residents, because there's nothing worse than saying to a resident, you've got to shift it yourself else you'll get fined, when it's not their waste in the first place. We've got to have a balanced approach to that, and I'm really pleased to be working with the portfolio holder to make sure that that moves forward at pace, and we can make sure that we keep our borough as clean as we possibly can with tackling lots of different things. I hear what you're saying about KPIs. We do keep some stats. It's not as detailed as I always like, so we'll get better at that. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Can we now move to Councillor Mackenzie, please?
Thank you, and I'm glad this has come forward. I think fly tipping is a real problem, and as a member of Rugby Litterbusters, I have cleared a fair few piles of debris that have been piled up in lay-bys along the road, on urban streets and all sorts of different locations, and I do pay tribute to the teams that do litter pick far more frequently than I do, and work so hard along with our waste crews. And it really is a multifaceted problem. So I'm interested in the trial, and I'm certainly going to vote for it, to do a bulky waste amnesty, but it's certainly, in my experience of what I've picked, it is only a very small part of the fly tipping problem, and a lot of the fly tipping problem is actually builders' waste, or it's household waste where they have paid a collector who has been unlicensed, and then they've gone and dumped it in a lay-by. And so I think we do really have to tackle this in a multi-pronged way. Down at the LGA conference last week, or was it the week before now, there was a trial where they were putting police tape around them and leaving them for a bit to really show how illegal it was. And they were seeing if that would reduce the incidence of fly tipping. So there's lots and lots of different bits and pieces going on out there. And I think it'd be quite interesting to try some different options. But I do feel that that maybe we could see more coming through scrutiny on this over time. And I do think educating our residents to not hand over their waste to somebody who is pocketing the money and dumping it in a lay-by and then making the public purse pay to remove it and deal with it properly would be a really fruitful exercise. And I was pleased when we saw the police and our environmental teams tackling and impounding vehicles that were doing illegal waste. I'd like to see more of that as well, that we do these joint operations where we actually seize their vans where they are actually doing illegal waste tipping. So, but I do think there is definitely a resident portion in there, that if you're paying for building work at your house, that you know how your waste is going. I had some work done, and the guy said I was the first person in 15 years to ever ask to see his waste license before I was willing to let the waste leave the house. He duly presented that, and then I was happy for it to go. But that, you know, that is an important part of the process. Do they have a license? Don't give your money to a cowboy who's going to just dump it and ruin our environment. So I'd like to see that we continue this discussion. We look at different ways to tackle different parts of the problem, whether that's bulky goods, whether that's commercial waste, and whether that is the awful waste burning that we also see in various parts of our borough as well, that I would love the Environment Agency to take more seriously, because that has been a massive blight while that was going on. So it's going to get my vote.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Councillor New?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I welcome this report coming to council, motion coming to council, sorry, especially significant now with the Hunters Lane waste disposal site reverting back to booking system. I went there on Monday, and it was basically a disgrace the way people were being treated, trying to dispose their waste in the proper manner. People were being turned away because they weren't made aware. I know this is basically a county council issue, which I hope there will be some feedback from our county councillors in the chamber. that the way it was handled was really poor. People were being turned away. They weren't being allowed to go in and dispose of their waste. Traffic was backing up. People were getting angry. The people working at the site were getting a lot of abuse, understandably, because people just want to get rid of their waste and they're being told they can't at that time and place. And I just feel there's ways to handle it. We also need to find out a way of finding out what the majority of this waste is. Is it trade waste? Is there ways we can go around finding out why these people are dumping waste in areas rather than doing it through the proper ways in the proper places? So I think it's important that it does come to scrutiny at the end, Madam Mayor, and we see what's happening with this way of disposing waste, because it is a problem for everyone and a blight in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your insight. Any more speakers? No? Councillor Pims?
Yes, I'd just like to take this moment to promote our rugby app to councillors and the wider public. You can report your fly tipping on that, and I've now just had improved advice to use 3 words, so it's easier to find the fly tipping. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Thank you. Right to reply from Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, pleased that it's an issue that we can all come together and agree upon. We might not always in this chamber, but certainly there is work to be done where we can come together and target these issues that really affect our residents. I'm reflecting on Councillor Mackenzie's trip to the LGA. I mean, it's just trying to offer an alternative, and we may not always get it right, but I think best foot forward, and I think you know, there are ways in which we can, you know, chip away at it, hopefully. So thank you, everyone.
I welcome your comments. As single vote on the motion as amended. So just moving to the vote, those in favour, please show. Yeah. Those against, please show. Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Councillor Ward, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Madam Mayor, in light of the government's decision of the 16th of July 2026 to place rugby within a new Northern Warwickshire unitary authority, a decision that will reshape services for every resident of this borough, I ask on behalf of the Conservative Group that you consider exercising your power under Standing Order 3B to call an extraordinary council meeting so that full council can properly debate the authority's response. I recognise this is a matter for your discretion, and I ask you to exercise it so that this chamber remains the place where matters of this significance to rugby residents are debated. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ward. I'll consider your request and respond to you in due course. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. To exclude the public under Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972. To consider passing the following resolution. Under Section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information defined in paragraph 3 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and that in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. I so move. Who will second the motion?
I will second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We will now take that to vote. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. Do we have any abstentions tonight? That motion is carried. I'd ask that the live stream now be halted. Thank you. And is that